Do you remember that feeling? Waking up to rain tapping against the window?
Even movies felt different back then. First came the previews, then the waiting, and somehow, anticipation made everything better. As bedtime approached, puddles reflected orange streetlights. The world outside felt quieter than usual, like the rain had asked everyone to slow down. The hallway light stayed on. A television murmured somewhere else in the house, and you knew the grown-ups were still awake. That feeling alone made everything seem safe. Long night drives created their own kind of magic. Fingers drawing shapes in condensation. Entire stories invented from passing lights. Sometimes you'd wander into the kitchen late at night, the fridge light becoming the brightest thing in the world. Rain tapping softly overhead. A warm towel waiting beside the heater. Tiny comforts that felt ordinary then, and priceless now. Outside, the trampoline filled with rainwater. And you'd hope, maybe tomorrow would be sunny enough to use it again. Everyone knew the warmest spot in the house. Right in front of the television. Right beside the heater. That was premium real estate. The clock ticked louder on rainy days. Or maybe we simply noticed it more. Back then, time wasn't something we were trying to outrun. Traffic crawled through school pickup lines. And once again, raindrops became races on the window. A game every kid played. A game every kid thought they invented. Some afternoons felt almost dark enough to be evening. The television became the only light in the room, and nobody seemed to mind. Wet leaves stuck to sneakers near the front step. Evidence that someone had ignored the weather and gone outside anyway. Rain made quiet hobbies feel magical. Drawing, coloring, sharpening pencils. Small worlds built indoors while storms passed outside. Then came the smell of toast. 112.
112?
Simple words. Simple food. Memories that lasted decades. Sometimes you just watch rain move across the driveway. With nowhere to be. Nothing to do. And somehow, that was enough. The dog slept through it all. Curled up by the door. Completely at peace. As if rainy days were made for resting. By evening, the roads turned blue-gray. Wet asphalt reflected every passing light. And the whole suburb seemed softer somehow. You'd lie on the carpet, watching shadows move across the ceiling, entertaining yourself with thoughts instead of screens. Then lightning would briefly illuminate everything. Books, toys, furniture. For a split second, familiar rooms felt mysterious. Some rainy nights ended with takeaway. Hot chips warming the car. Careful, they are hot.
Careful,
And somehow they always tasted better during storms. A cassette tape played quietly nearby. You stayed out into the darkness, feeling things you couldn't quite explain yet. The rain created its own music, dripping from verandas, splashing into puddles, sounds that could keep you mesmerized for hours. Eventually the curtains closed. The outside world disappeared, and the day slowly began winding down. The hallway remained softly lit. Everything else faded into darkness, a kind of loneliness that never felt lonely. Branches brushed against the window. The wind whispered outside, and somewhere between sleeping and waking, you listened. The VCR blinked 12 o'clock, forever waiting to be fixed. A tiny detail that somehow existed in almost every Australian home. The bedside lamp stayed on a little longer. Rain made bedtime negotiable. There was always one more page to read. Headlights swept across the curtains. Cars passed through the wet night, and you imagine where everyone else might be going. You pulled the blanket a little tighter. Thunder rumbled far away, yet somehow, you never felt safer. Near midnight, the rain began to ease, and there was always a strange feeling when it did. Like something special was ending. The streets became still. Orange lights reflected across empty roads. The entire suburb seemed asleep. Raindrops slid slowly down the bedroom window. The same view you'd watched all day. Still somehow beautiful. Then morning quietly arrived. The clouds began to brighten, and the storm slowly surrendered to daylight. Puddles glowed gold beneath the first sunlight. The world looked freshly washed, like it had been given a second chance overnight. The bike remained beside the fence, still wet from yesterday, waiting patiently for another ordinary adventure. And that's the funny thing about those rainy days. At the time, they felt completely normal. Just another cold day in a 90s Australian suburb. But years later, we realized those weren't ordinary days at all. They were some of the safest, some of the quietest, some of the most beautiful memories of childhood. And if you grew up in Australia during the 90s, you probably still miss them every time it rains. Before you go, what's one rainy day memory from your childhood you'll never forget? Leave it in the comments. And if you miss the simple magic of growing up in 90s Australia, subscribe now and join us for part 2. Because we're only just getting started.